Her.
Ooh.
I'm doing some ASMR. That's odd.
That's what she said. Okay.
3, 2, 1. Greetings, travelers. My name is Amelia.
My name is Gabby.
Welcome to the lodge.
Today we'll be talking about the case of Jon Benét Ramsey.
Ooh.
What's it called?
Intro music.
Insert intro music.
Insert intro music.
Chinchilla music.
Chinchilla.
Chinchilla. This is about to be a mess of a video because, unlike Amelia, my preparedness is basically me having it all in my head and writing down little bullet points on what I think is important. That's just my way
Me
of
taking my tests.
Yeah. Okay, so Jon Benét Ramsey. I feel like you've heard about this case, haven't you?
Yes.
Yeah, I feel a lot of people have heard about this case.
It's very popular.
It's a very popular case. So I'm just going to keep this to being more short and sweet than other videos who include a lot of information. So I'm just going to start off by giving you the timeline of how the events went out. So let's start off with Jon Benét Ramsey. She was born August 6, 1990 in Atlanta, Georgia.
August babies.
Yeah, like you. And then, but she moved to Boulder, Colorado, and that's where she died December 25th of 1996 in Boulder, Colorado.
On Christmas Day.
Yeah, in her house, basically. So she was a pageant girl. She's a pageant queen. She's a beauty queen. She was in a lot of pageants. She was very, very successful in it, which I will say is like she was very successful. Like a lot of people knew about her. I think she was on television before.
Yeah.
So she was like, people knew about her.
Like a lot of people, like grown men.
Yeah.
Oh.
A lot of people knew about her. Okay, so that's important. Let me introduce you to the parents. The parents are Patsy Ramsey, John Ramsey, and Burke Ramsey, okay? Those are important names because they're the family members.
Dun, dun, dun.
Patsy Ramsey, Jon Benét's mom, was also a pageant queen when she was younger. She was, I forgot. She won something, but it wasn't.
Her sisters were pageant queens too.
Yeah. Basically, Jon Benét, how do I put this, did get a lot more fame than her mother. We can put it like that. Okay. So, we're going to start off when they came back. So, this takes place on Christmas Day. And around this time. So, just remember, like, the holiday vibes. Everything's super holiday vibe.
Holiday vibes.
This family, we can say, was a well-privileged family. They were like upper middle class.
Oh yeah, I would say they're pretty well off.
Yeah, they're well off. They what's it called? If they wanted to buy something, they could. What's it called? So imagine them having so much money that Patsy Ramsey decorated that house with like a Christmas tree in every single room. That's, I'm trying to give you background information. That's how they were. Like mom was like super like wanting, those moms that like want everything perfect and like make everything seem perfect,
like nuclear families.
Yeah, basically, like nothing could go wrong. They were like the picture perfect American household. Like that's the kind of life they lived. So on Christmas Day of 1996, they went to a Christmas party at a family friend's house, and then they came back later that night after the party to their house, and then they put Jon Benét Ramsey to sleep. Brother went to sleep. Basically, everyone was asleep, right? Then that's how it was. It was pretty normal. When you get back from a party super late, you all just gonna go to sleep because no one wants to stay awake that long. So Patsy Ramsey was the first one to wake up in the household. And there's two sets of stairs. There's like the main entrance stairs, which like I guess you can say guests would take. Yeah. And not people that come around sometimes, but not a lot. And then there's a back staircase that mainly, if you lived in the house, you'd be taking the back staircase. So Patsy Ramsey walked down the staircase, and there was a note left there. That note was a ransom note. Yeah. And on the ransom note, it basically said that they're some kind of small terrorist organization, and that they were holding Jon Benét hostage, and that they wanted $118,000.
It's an important number.
Yeah, it's very important number. I'm going to get into that a bit more. I just want to kind of give you all the information, and then we'll go into the tiny little details.
Can you imagine being a mom and like you just find this ransom note
Yeah.
in your house?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It's horrifying.
I can't. Patsy called the police like almost immediately. Amelia, she called the police. I will say almost immediately, but we really don't know. And on the police call, if you hear it, it sounded like she's very frantic. Seems like a worried mother, very like, oh my god, like like my baby, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then towards the end of it, if you hear really well, there's like a bit of a silence, and people say that her whole demeanor changed because she thought she was off the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of sus if you think about it.
Very
sus. So then, shortly after the police came to the house, this was treated as a missing persons case and not a homicide or a murder. So they had friends and family and police officers all in the house.
Oh, yeah.
So before this was considered like a homicide,
Mm-hmm.
all of the evidence that you need is tampered. There's way too many people in the house to actually figure out what's happening. So they were all, I think, sitting like in the living room. They were waiting till 10 for something to happen.
I remember reading one of the moms literally wiped down the counter. Like, that just destroyed so much evidence just then and there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, basically, a lot of the evidence is gone. They were waiting till 10. Nothing happened. So the dad was super, like, nervous and scared and shit like that. So the police officer was like, hey, you know what? You go, I think it was with the police officer or someone else, go check around the house again for her.
Mm-hmm.
They walked around and they went to the basement, and there was Jon Benét dead on the ground with this vice around her made from a broken paintbrush.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes it look like it was like strangulation. And when the dad found this, he put a blanket over her and brought her upstairs. And then the whole entire case took a turn, and instead of it being a missing person case, it became a homicide case, murder case. Now I'm gonna get into all the nitty gritty and all the stuff that I haven't talked about. Let's start off with the note, which the note is super duper 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 important. First of all, that ransom note was 2.5 pages long, so 3 pages long, right?
Mm-hmm. Who writes a ransom note that's 3 pages long?
And here's also the thing: the pen that they used was a pen inside the house.
Yep.
So that means if there was an actual person,
They had to have wrote it inside the house.
Yes, they had to write it inside the house. 3.5 pages, and if you look inside the notebook that it was written, they wrote a rough draft beforehand. So that note was written at least 2-3 times, which could take you up to 2 hours. Writing a note like that or trying to figure out how to write a note.
It's like an essay. That's like how
It
they
is
wrote it.
pretty much.
If you were in their house,
If you're a kidnapper, you want to get out as much as possible.
Yeah.
Also, big thing, pretty much the reason why no one can find anything is because of how much tampered evidence there was.
Yeah, like even the dad, when he picked her up in the blanket, that in itself destroyed so much evidence.
Yeah, because at least for me, like I was taught, if you find a dead person, you don't touch them, you call the police as quick as possible.
Yeah.
Because, what's it called? You don't want to be part of it.
Yeah.
Or people think anything.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about the house and the safe. When they found her, these are paintbrushes from Patsy that were broken, and there's like a little like string thing, and it was like tied around like a vice. That's what killed her. What supposedly killed her, but what they found out that it was blunt force trauma to the head. The main cause. So
someone must have
hit her,
yeah,
and then to cover it up, strangled her. There was a broken window inside the house, but it looked too staged because it was broken from the inside and not from the outside. And if you want to get in, you have to break from the outside and not from the inside. And I think I saw this thing. It was like there was too many like cobwebs on there, and it was like no one could have gotten in through there.
Yeah.
Because of how certain things were placed and how certain things were. So I'm just putting that out there because I know people might think like, oh, what about this? But I'm not going to include that in here because if you've read about the case, you know that like it has nothing to do with it in a sense. It was just like there to be placed there. Those, I guess, are like the big things that happened inside the house that were found as like strange or like out of place. That's the best way I'm going to put it. Now, let's talk about the parents. When this happened, there was a lot of media outside, a lot of press because, people wanted to know. The parents did not want to talk to the press at all, which, sus. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
And when you're in an investigation, police want to rule out family members as quick as possible. But they would not speak to the police until they had a lawyer and they wanted to be in the same room together to speak.
That's a big no, though. Because if the police really knew what they were doing, they should have separated the parents, like, immediately.
No, but they couldn't. If you asked for a lawyer...
Oh.
Yeah, and they wanted to do it together because then their stories could line up. Which, sus. That's very sus. That's very, like, suspicious.
Yeah.
And let me see. Also, I forgot to mention is that there was pieces of pineapple still in her digestive system that haven't been fully digested inside Jon Benét.
The party?
No. It was not on the party. It had to be from later that evening. Yeah.
Oh.
I forgot to mention that, but I'm going to just put that there so like, when we talk about theories, you know what I'm saying. They did make an appearance, the parents, on a TV show. And if you look at it, you can take it from many ways. I personally don't think anything of it. But, Patsy Ramsey was very well put together for the TV show. Very elegant, doesn't want to make a bad impression.
She looked very straight-faced, too.
Yeah, like, people, I don't know, because people grieve differently, but she did not look like her daughter was just killed and she's super sorry about it. So, let's go on to my theories, which basically to me, these theories both collude together. They're pretty similar and they could lead to one another, but we don't know. Pineapple. That's the main thing. So I've heard from different sources and from like this is very like mixed match is that pineapple was Burke, her brother's favorite fruit, and people say that it was Jon Benét's favorite fruit. Either way, it was someone's favorite fruit. So I'm gonna say that it was Burke's favorite fruit, and supposedly maybe since it was late at night, her brother wanted a late night snack.
Yeah. Went
downstairs, had some. Jon Benét came down and had some too. He got mad, hit her with the flashlight because the flashlight is what it was, the blunt force trauma.
Oh.
And then the parents were like, "Oh shit, what are we gonna do about it?" And they couldn't take her to the hospital because that caused more problems, I guess. And then they covered up the evidence. They basically covered up and made it look like something happened.
Like staged.
Yeah. The reason why I say this is because supposedly Burke had previous history of being very bursts of anger, like being violent sometimes. And that's where it could come from. Like, that's what people are saying, that, like, oh, maybe that could be the cause. Which could make sense. But there was they were able to get Burke into a separate investigation room, and they were talking with a therapist to, like, conclude, like, evaluate him. And from it, he had nothing to do with it, in a sense. So you could say that, but there's also, like, evidence that probably couldn't. My main thing, this is like what I'm saying, this has to be it, is Patsy did it. Patsy did it, and Patsy did it, Patsy did it.
Probably, or maybe she just... Because, Burke is like, how, 8 or 9? It's like, if you realize that your son can do this at 8 or 9 years old, that's gonna ruin his life forever. You have to do something about that to cover up. And I think that's what Patsy tried to do.
Yeah. So other theory is that Patsy did it, and maybe Jon Benét was eating some pineapples, and Patsy didn't want Jon Benét to eat it, and then she hit her on the head with the flashlight, maybe a bit too hard, because there's parents out there that'll like hit you for doing something.
Mm-hmm.
So
especially because she's a beauty pageant star, and so it's like there was a lot of like control and conflict between them. Is that some people thought that Jon Benét didn't want to do these, like she was forced, but Patsy and herself probably
was living through her
fame.
Yeah. The thing is, my opinion, there's other theories that it could have been because she was a beauty queen. She was in pageants. There was creepy pedophile people out there. There was a lot of them.
Especially because the things that Patsy made her do it's like very provocative for a 6-year-old. Unlike.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
I know.
There hasn't been enough evidence from it that happened, and what's it called? They had one person confess. But they found out that, like, at that time, he was, like, all the way in Georgia and not anywhere near Colorado.
Is he the guy that hung himself after?
Sure.
There's one guy.
No. That was someone else.
He, like, confessed on the phone to his friend.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I heard a little girl.
Yeah. There's that, but no. The reason I didn't put it in there is because none of them are as conclusive as this. The main reason why I didn't put that in there is because I saw a video. I think it was on TikTok, which, so trustworthy, but supposedly her professor was part of the Jon Benét case, and all signs led towards Patsy. But they couldn't convict her of anything because you need evidence, and they didn't have enough evidence to put her in jail. And also, they went to court later, basically saying, like, stop. They sued basically the police department, basically like, yo, stop trying to get us into the investigation. Yeah. So they really couldn't look into them anymore because they weren't able to. Thing is, this case is probably gonna stay cold for forever because Patsy Ramsey died a few years ago. I think maybe like 10 years ago.
Oh yeah, I was like, was it ovarian cancer?
I think it was.
Yeah.
Karma.
Yikes.
Karma. I don't know. To me, I feel like at the beginning when I read the case, I was like, okay, it's probably the mom is trying to cover up for Burke, right? Yeah. But reading into it, I feel like it had to be Patsy. Because I know she's very controlling, and she was also trying to live it through her daughter. I
feel like she was definitely the mind player. Like, if you thought of this, like, as a chessboard, it's like she controlled all the pieces, It's like, if someone stepped out of line, you can obviously see what is going to happen. Yeah,
because just what I think about it is, like, her house was always, like, perfect and stuff like that. So she's very, like, controlling and, like, everything has to be her way.
She even had a case, and it was just Jon Benét's trophies, like, just hers.
Yeah.
There was something that I read, and it was, like, Jon Benét had a friend that would come over, and this was, a source that came directly from her in her older times, the friend. And the friend asked her, like, oh, why do you have all these trophies? And Jon Benét replied with, they're more my mom's than mine. And so that one was a jerker. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like, that's how much control Patsy had over her, and it's very sad because she was 6 years old. She's 6 years old.
Yeah. So I'm thinking is maybe Jon Benét wanted pineapple. Her mom, and she went downstairs to get it. Her mom was like, no, you couldn't. And then hit her, and then was like, oh crap, and then maybe got like the husband or something to help her do it. But like, if
the husband through this had more like trauma than
because if you look at it, like, did you see it? Like, the husband looked like really, really sad compared to the mom. The mom just looked like, what's it called? Like, ooh, just part of my regular day.
That's probably what Patsy's control over her husband was too. It's like,
I do think she's very controlling.
Yes,
she's very, very controlling. And I just think it's very strange because I mean, if you're not guilty, you're probably gonna talk to the press. Like, you're going to talk to the press as much as possible. You're gonna be like, you're not gonna talk to as much as possible, but like the press that showed up to her house, you wanna talk to them, so you can be like, hello, like, get the word out there, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you wouldn't wait till you're on a TV show that has, like, some reputable name to it for you to start talking. And then go there and dress super fancy and, like, look all posh when your daughter's died and TV shows aren't
like
most important.
The least of your worries right now.
Yeah, is you're more, if you really want to figure out who died, you want to go, you're not worrying about, let me go on a TV show.
You're right.
Because you have to remember is that, like, it takes about an hour to get ready.
Mm-hmm.
Or even more, depending. For her, it probably took more. So you're deliberately, you're making an effort to go to a show. And I know if, like, let's say, hypothetically, I hope this never happens, is that, let's say, I have a child and they die. I'm not going to be worrying about looking good. I'm going to look like a mess, and I'm going to want to figure out what the heck happened to my kid.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to look pretty and go on the TV shows that will give me some kind of clout and hope for the best that my kid gets found. I don't know. It's just annoying because how the police took care of it was...
Yeah, they were very, like, unprofessional.
No, it was not. It was very irresponsible.
Mm-hmm.
And
like, how do you not check your own house?
I know.
It's your daughter. You want to check every nook and cranny of your house?
Mm-hmm. It was too sus. It was very sus. How the way the parents were, I did not like that. I feel like it was Patsy who did all of this, and then her husband was like, oh crap, like, I can't divorce you or stuff like that. Like, I can't leave you, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And like, oh, we're in this together, and he probably was just like, I guess we're gonna have to figure this out. It's not.
It's uncomfy.
It's very uncomfy.
It's very uncomfy.
Do you think you could do that to your own kid? Like,
can you imagine? It's like this one thing that you have inside of you for 9 months, and then it's just like it's kind of your gift, right? And it's like what is brought into this world, and like it becomes a part of society.
Yeah.
And just to take that away from society, like nothing, is horrid.
And with the way she acts, it's just like, to me, it's just, how could you do this to someone, first of all? Second of all, like, you should have, like, told someone. Like, you should have been like, yeah, I did it. Because, like, yeah, you don't want to go to jail, right? But you're still going to have to live with the guilt and the constant pressure of someone trying to basically figure out that you did it or prove that you did it. So, like, either way. Forensics was pretty advanced. There's a lot of stuff. Like, you can do fingerprints now.
Yeah.
What
year was this?
1996.
Oh my god.
So, okay, I'm gonna do this because I like doing this. This is my favorite kind of way to think about it. Is how, if I was to do this murder, how would I make the perfect murder? This is not me saying like, oh, this is good. This is a good idea. They should do this. This is me being like, me thinking through their mindset. The ransom note, first of all, is way too long, which of course is going to cause people to be like, what the heck is this? And they did what's it called?
First off, it's like, why? It's too long. I feel like if you wanted to make yourself the less amount noticeable as possible, make your ransom note have less personality than you do.
Yeah. And fix your handwriting, because what's it called? When they did a handwriting test on Jon and Patsy. It was not a match to Jon, but inconclusive with Patsy. Because there's a lot of similarities, but there wasn't enough for them to be like,
and it was her notepad, too.
It was in her notepad. So, that also gives you
there's a lot of ways that this could be interpreted.
Yeah.
But it's like, the police were just not prepared.
They were not. I mean, this case is so simple, but yet so much to it.
It's like all these little tiny details could just like jerk you in the wrong way.
So the reason why this is way more shorter than that one is that there's so much information on this case already, and there's a lot of information on this case that to me doesn't make sense or seem plausible because it's been rolled out, and it's not as like important in a sense compared to like. Personally, like, most of us know it was the mom. Everyone knows it was the mom.
Yeah, say, like, if this case were solved, then we would have ruled out all the facts because they're all there, but this has so many, just, like, things that don't make sense that could just turn the way that you see things the wrong way.
Yeah. Because, like, you could think about it. It's like, oh, yes, it could have been, like, one of those pedophiles. And you could have gone, like, I could have gone, like, a whole tangent on it just being like, oh, look at these pedophiles. This could be the reason why. But when you, like, look more into the case, it's like, it shows you, like, this is, like, not possible.
There's a lot more to this case. And it's definitely a lot to think about.
Yeah. It's just the way it was staged does not correlate with
the story.
With it being from someone outside. Like, you had to have been inside the house. Unless there was some kind of unlocked door so that someone could get in, there's no other way.
The window.
Yeah, the window had to have been staged. Because it was broken from the inside, not from the outside. I decided to do this case because I've heard about it, but I've never really researched it that much. It's super simple, but super complicated at the same time.
Yeah.
Because they're, like, the straight facts are, like, here's the timeline, and then here's, like, the mishap stuff, and then here's what's wrong with it, and then here's stuff that's, like, not, and then you can have, like, the theories if you want to add them. But what's it called? Mainly the reason why this case is not solved is because of police not doing their job correctly, and because Patsy's dead. So, that's pretty much it for this story and for us talking about this story. It's very short. But
if you liked this episode, please go like and subscribe and comment your theories or anything that you would like to fact check with us. But yeah, thanks for coming to our lodge.
Yeah, remember to give us some recommendations on stories that not many people talk about, and we'll do a research on them. Remember, every Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we upload a new video to this channel.
Yeah, we'll see you guys later.
We'll see you guys later. Bye.
Bye-bye.